if one of your hitmen is stupid enough to be caught in the act and gets clapped in jail, don't panic. What you need to do is take a few Westerners as bargaining chips, frame them, put them in jail, and then wait for the pressure in the democratic system to mount until people come asking you for a prison swap.
Now, as we've been discussing this morning, our colleague from the Wall Street Journal, Evan Gershkovich, the journalist, has arrived home in the United States after being imprisoned in Russia for nearly 500 days on espionage charges and given a considerably longer sentence. Speaking to the press, Evan highlighted the plight of other prisoners held in Russia. Evan was freed as part of a prisoner swap that included the release of a man named Vadim Krasikov. Krasikov was an FSB assassin tasked with murdering Putin's opponents abroad, and he was serving a life sentence in Germany for the assassination of a Chechen rebel commander. The White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan confirmed that the deceased Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who was also murdered, was supposed to be part of the exchange. Well, joining me now is the UK's former National Security Advisor, Lord Ricketts, Peter Ricketts. Hello to you.
Good morning, Adam.
What do you make of this exchange? Clearly, it is a great relief to get these people out, but at quite a price.
Yes, absolutely. You have to share the joy, obviously, of the families who are now reunited with loved ones who were unjustly imprisoned, in the case of the former Marine Mike William, for years. But there was a high price. As you say, the Russians were determined to get out this guy, Vadim Krashikov, who'd been sentenced to life by a German court for murder of a Russian dissident in a Berlin park. And so swapping him for innocent Western detainees seems to me to send a signal to all dictators. If one of your hitmen is stupid enough to be caught in the act and gets clapped in jail, don't panic. What you need to do is take a few Westerners as bargaining chips, frame them, put them in jail, and then wait for the pressure in the democratic system to mount until people come asking you for a prison swap. I don't say it was wrong to do it, but I think we just have to be clear that there is a price. And in a way, I think it makes it even more dangerous for people to operate in countries like Russia or Iran, where there is always the risk that a journalist or an NGO worker or a businessman might be taken as a bargaining chip against future swapping in a prisoner swap.
Do you think there's also an element in this that journalists from third countries, not the United States, may be in more danger because they don't have the clout of the US?
I think that may be true. I mean, clearly, Biden made this a major issue for his administration. He's been working on it since the beginning. They've been putting a lot of pressure on a number of countries, not least Germany, who had to swallow the bitter pill of allowing Krashikov to go. Other countries would not have the clout the Americans have and might not have the people under their in detention that are of interest to the Russians. So, yeah, I think there is this slightly darker side to the deal. It's a question of judgment always. Foreign policy is always about trade-offs and difficult choices. But I think it's important people are aware of it, particularly people who may be working in the sort of countries that are apt to do this thing.
And why was President Putin so determined to get Krasikov and the others back? I mean, on the face of it, they don't sound to be particularly attractive characters.
I don't know, but I think it's kind of gangland loyalty, that if you're loyal to the mafia boss and you get into trouble, the boss reaches out and helps you, and that they don't leave their people languishing if they can do it. On the other side of the coin, sometimes the Russians have released dissidents in prisoner swaps, and then they've tried to murder them afterwards, like the Skripals in Salisbury 4 or 5 years ago. I think it's all about maintaining this sort of mafia-style gangland links that you demand absolute loyalty and you're prepared to show loyalty to your own subordinates.
And currently, this sort of prisoner exchange is very much something that is on the agenda between Israel and the Palestinians.
Yes, and it's also, of course, been done between the Russians and the Ukrainians. So it can be done, in the heat of major war. The two sides both see an interest in swapping prisoners. And it's very much, in the case of the Israeli hostages held by Hamas, absolutely a current issue there, made more difficult, I think, by the Israeli assassinations over the last few days in Beirut and Tehran. But yeah, hostage swaps, prisoner swaps are part of war and conflict, but they always involve these very difficult moral trade-offs.
Are there, on your mind, any British nationals who we need to get back, do you think?
Well, I mean, my mind was very much on Mrs. Zaghari Ratcliffe, who you remember was held completely unjustly in Iran for years and years. And eventually a deal was done on that involving the UK paying a debt for arms sales that have been outstanding for decades. I mean, I don't think we have anybody of the prominence of Evan Gershkovich in detention in dictatorships at the moment. But if we did, then the UK government would face the same kind of moral dilemma as has been faced by the Americans.
Lord Ricketts, Peter Ricketts, thank you very much indeed.
Привет, Ваня!